Hey everyone. So I want to apologize right off the bat that this is not where I normally film. I'm in my bedroom and the lighting in here is atrocious. So sorry. Um, Today I just wanted to talk about something my friends and I kind of joke about on a regular basis. And maybe it's appropriate that I've got this weird white cast silhouette, creepy, ghostly thing going on. Because I want to talk about how imagination, something that can be a saving grace for people with depression and anxiety, can turn into paranoia. And instead of it being a wonderful daydream, it's suddenly your worst nightmare. So for me, daydreaming, having a vivid, sometimes overactive imagination can be a very good thing. Um, I have the ability to come up with a scene in my head to kind of let myself escape from the realities and the stress and the questions in my mind. And sometimes that's all it takes for me to talk myself off of a cliff, so to speak, to get myself out of a potentially, panic attack inducing thought process of, scary thoughts racing through my head and bringing on this feeling of panic and anxiety. And if I can come up with a scenario in my head to kind of quell that, to step back and kind of get into my head in a different way, then that can be a really good point for me to be like, okay, so maybe if I can just step out of the here and now, step out of this reality for a second, I can really talk myself off of a bridge. And so for me, having that ability, having that very vivid imagination where I can have full-blown conversations in my head, and which I'm sure for some people this is like, yeah, I do that too. And for other people it's like, what? Like, are you sure you're not really crazy because you're talking to yourself? It's not talking to myself and expecting myself to answer. It's like if you were writing a story and you come up with different characters, right? And the main character is yourself, but you're not really yourself. You have some of the same thoughts, you speak the same way, you kind of maybe look the same way, but you act differently and you're in a different situation. There's different circumstances in your life. And so maybe people that you know also play parts in these roles in your head, or maybe you fantasize that someone you've seen on TV, a character in a show, a movie, an actor, a singer, someone who's a public figure that you know a little bit about. You bring them into your life, into your world, and you make them act the way that you want them to act so that you can sort of make up a scenario in your head that'll make you maybe a little bit calmer, a little bit happier, um, something like that. So that's where having an awesome imagination is really great. But the flip side of that is something I call imagination-induced anxiety, where, and this is the part that my friends and I joke about. It's like, for instance, you are driving in your car at night and, you know, you're constantly thinking in your head something bad might happen, something bad could happen. So, periodically, maybe every 30 seconds, maybe every couple of minutes, you're constantly glancing in your rearview mirror like, is someone following me? Or is someone going to pop out of my back seat, and I'm going to lose control and we're both going to die, or maybe this person is going to jump out of the back seat and kill me, like something like that. So you have all these situations and scenarios running through your head, right? And so instead of a good fantasy, you now have this living nightmare in your head that you're fighting, right? So maybe sticking with the car scenario, you have to go to your car at night, it's dark outside and you're maybe alone, and you walk up to your car and you always want to check under your car. You don't want to have a cat down there. You don't want to be, driving on a flat tire, etc. So you check under your car. Okay, a lot of people do that. But instead of just checking under your car, your next step is, okay, I've got to walk all the way around my car. And you do it quickly because you want to get into your car. You want to get into your safe space. And then, as you're walking around the car, you're checking in the back seat, because you've got this thing in your head that's like, someone's going to be in the back seat and someone's going to jump out at me when I'm driving away and I'm driving home, and it's just going to turn into a really bad thing. So you take maybe normal steps that a lot of people would take, but you take it a step farther because in your head, you've got this situation, this scenario that, oh my God, something terrible could happen, right? So that's imagination-induced anxiety to me. But where you can bring your imagination back to a good place, to an asset rather than a detriment, is maybe you're driving in that car at night and you keep thinking about, that scenario where someone's in your backseat, or it could be anything really. And you can bring your imagination back, into your good graces, so to speak, and maybe pretend like you're speaking to someone in the passenger seat. Like, maybe they've never been to this part of town before, and so you narrate in your head or out loud. I mean, you're in the car alone. Who's going to know? Who's going to care that you're speaking to yourself? Maybe you narrate what you see as you drive by, or the weather, or you can be like, oh my God, there's no traffic out here. Like, this is really unusual. I don't think I've ever driven this fast on this road. Keep that running dialogue in your head to kind of keep yourself grounded in a way. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, and it's not just driving. You could, in any situation, maybe you have to speak in front of a bunch of people and you have anxiety about that, and you just imagine, people hate it. People are like going to boo and heckle and all of this thing, all of these type of things. And you can bring your imagination back into it, not necessarily by imagining everyone in their underwear, but some sort of situation where you picture someone, whether they're there or not, in the crowd, and you're only speaking to them. And you can sort of throw maybe your sense of humor, and not necessarily inside jokes, but jokes that that person would get, and just sort of pretend like there's one other person in the room and you're speaking to them, whether they're there or not. That type of thing, where you can bring that imagination-induced anxiety back to a good place, where you can use those scenarios that you have in your head that induce that anxiety and use it as an anxiety quelling mechanism instead. So imagination versus paranoia. It's something that I deal with on a regular basis, and that it sounds crazy. And I'm sure to some people that is crazy, but I know that I'm not the only person who thinks that way. Me and one of my friends in particular, we make jokes like this all the time. We have either overactive imaginations, or we always imagine the worst. And that can be really detrimental. I mean, it plays havoc on your mind. And if you can bring it back to a place that's safe, then it can really help you calm yourself back down and really talk yourself off of that ledge, so to speak. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully, I'll have better lighting again next time. I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.